Good evening. Thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to welcome you to this wonderful space. My name is Dr. Kimberly Armstrong, and I have the pleasure of serving as superintendent here at Portland Public Schools. Also, just acknowledging our amazing musicians and dancers. They've done it again. They always show up and show out for our community. So I just really appreciate them. So join me in another round of applause for them. There are so many people to thank and not enough minutes to do it. So just really quickly, I want to acknowledge our principal, our business manager, Franklin student council members. Thank you, the performing arts team. Thank you, and all the individuals that came together to host you in the school and make sure that your experience is first class. So please applaud those individuals. I am especially excited to welcome Mayor Wilson to this space. I know that we stand united in the fact that this urban city will be the destination city of the United States. And we know that for a strong city, we need strong schools, and we're doing our part to make sure that Portland is everything it promises to be. I also just want to note that our mayor is a graduate of Roosevelt High School, and so go Rough Riders. Yes, thank you for being here. And I just appreciate the vision, and so I don't want to take any more time just to say, welcome to this space. I want you to feel at home. This is a community space. I am so glad you're here, and thank you for being a part of what makes Portland Public Schools the best place ever. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Superintendent Armstrong, for your warm welcome. I'm Ted Kay, Treasurer of the City Club of Portland. We're thrilled to welcome you to Franklin High School and Mayor Keith Wilson's first State of the City address. Before we begin, I ask everyone, including me, to silence your cell phones. City Club is proud to host nonpartisan public forums, debates, and research to help Portlanders make informed decisions around elections and public policy. City Club is committed to providing space for people to gather and engage in civil dialogue to enhance respectful discussion and positive change. Members make City Club run by providing ideas, leading conversations, conducting research, and planning programs that address issues important to our community. To support our mission and participate directly in City Club's work, become a member today. Visit pdxcityclub.org and let us know how you'd like to engage. If you join today, you can take $40 off your annual membership dues using the discount code NEW40. That's NEW, all caps, no gaps. And you'll get 2 extra months membership for joining during our spring membership drive. Many people are responsible for developing today's program. I want to give special thanks to Cody Bowman with the Mayor's Office, Lisa Merrick with Portland Public Schools, Robin Denberg and Bobby Regan, City Club Governors, the amazing Franklin student performers, and Kayla Kennett, City Club's Communications Director. Let's thank them all. Now, please mark your calendars for our State of Racial Justice event coming up next month. For background, a special edition of the Portland Mercury newspaper will be released on Friday, May 23rd, 2 days before the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's murder. Titled Blackout, a 5-year retrospective of the racial justice movement in Portland, the edition will feature a dozen essays by Portland area African American leaders presenting their views on Portland since George Floyd's murder. Our State of Racial Justice program will feature several of these contributing leaders in a moderated discussion led by writer and artist Jonathan Scribes. The program is at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, June 18th at the Old Church in downtown Portland. Now to today's program. Keith Wilson was elected last November as the first mayor to serve under Portland's new form of government. A longtime business owner, Mayor Wilson is focused on ending unsheltered homelessness and making Portland a great place to live, work, and visit. Mayor Wilson has served in this role for about 4 months. On Monday, he will present his very first budget proposal to the Portland City Council. Mayor Wilson was born and raised in North Portland, graduating from Roosevelt High School, Portland Community College, Oregon State University, before earning an MBA from the University of Portland. He began his career in television, then returned to Portland to take the helm of Titan Freight Systems in 2004. Over the years, he reimagined Titan as a safety leader, green transportation innovator, and artificial intelligence incubator, eliminated all fossil fuels in its Portland facility, and pioneered heavy-duty electric vehicles. For today's program, it's worth providing further background. With the adoption of Portland's city charter changes, Portland recently moved away from its longtime form of government, transitioning to a mayor-council form of government. Portland's new 12-member city council now serves as the legislative and policy body for the city of Portland. The mayor leads the executive branch and has administrative authority. Notably, the mayor no longer serves as a member of the city council. The mayor and the new city administrator work together to implement the strategic plan, laws, and policies developed by the city council, and they manage all city bureaus. Our program tonight is moderated by J.T. Flowers. Raised in the heart of Northeast Portland's historic Albina district by a single mother and grandmother, J.T. graduated from Portland Public Schools and earned his BA in political science from Yale University. A Truman Scholar, J.T. made history by becoming the first Black Rhodes Scholar in Oregon history and holds master's degrees. And J.T. holds master's degrees in U.S. history and music performance from the University of Oxford. J.T. serves as a Director of Government Affairs and Communications at the Albina Vision Trust. He represents District 5 on TriMet's Board of Directors. He also serves as the Board Chair of the Williams and Russell Community Development Corporation. We thank all of you who submitted questions as you registered for this program. At the end of the program, J.T. will pose several directly to the mayor. Now, please join me in welcoming Mayor Wilson to deliver his State of the City address.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. What an extraordinary day. Thank you to Superintendent Armstrong, to the City Club for this honor and this opportunity, to the Franklin High School where I've been here, I've played here, lost some games here, won some games here. What an incredible journey. And it's an honor to stand before you here today with so many friends and families, associates that have helped me have this honor right here, right now. I spent this New Year's morning with my son Noah. He joined me in my temporary office in the Portland building, which was the headquarters for my transition team as they were renovating City Hall. The nice thing about working weekends and holidays is that you usually get the whole place to yourself. In this case, I was grateful for my son's company because I was feeling some nerves. We went up to the 15th floor where there's a ping pong table and played some games, and he let me win the best 2 out of 3, so I'm sure he wanted me to start my first day on a winning streak. We gathered a few things and we walked across Madison Avenue. 121 days ago, I entered City Hall with new eyes. I walked through those heavy wooden doors and walked on that marble before. I testified, advocated, led, followed, and sought mentorship in council. I contributed my time, my experience, and my tenacity in that building to help advance the environmental, social, and economic issues that I care most about. New Year's Day 2025 felt different. I felt the weight of responsibility and what I now owed my city, my family, and myself for the faith and trust that had been extended by the people of Portland, by you. That was the first time I'd walked through as an elected official. And as the 54th mayor of our city, the greatest city in the nation. I've worked shoulder to shoulder with so many people in this city, including this room. I think the Tuesday after I was elected, Chair Megan Peterson opened her office to me and invited me in, and we started a friendship that began and it's holding strong through this day. Council President, the councilors can't get rid of me. I've had dozens of meetings with them. The commissioners, the councilors, the state legislatures, all of those individuals have been so welcoming to help us and Portland move forward. Some I had known for years, others I had met just after the election. And I've seen much since taking office. I've seen what it takes our dedicated outreach workers to help someone off the street and back into their mother's arms. I've seen what it takes our law enforcement first responders to run missions to stop human trafficking, shooting, street takeovers, and break up property crime rings. I've seen what it takes our economic development team to breathe life back into our neighborhood and our business districts. I've seen what it takes our leaders and workers to do the hard and everyday work, to fill potholes, clean our streets, and keep our water safe. The capability, professionalism, and dedication of our city workers cannot be overstated. It is worth taking a moment in these times to appreciate the value of public service. And I'm so grateful for you welcoming me and working side by side as we've navigated some very challenging times this few months. And I've met incredible people in every neighborhood, community members just like you, that have devoted themselves to making our city stronger, better, and a fairer city. Because of that, this speech is about more than my short time in office. It's about us. It's about the parent who worried about their child's route to school. It's about the homeless souls who've asked for a better option than life on our street. It's about our undocumented neighbors who depend on Portland holding fast as a sanctuary city. It's about the shop owners who've asked us to keep their employees safe and treat their broken windows like the crimes that they are. It's about every single one of you in this room. As I prepare for the State of the City address, I ask myself these following questions. What is the state of a city that faces a chaotic and irresponsible federal government? What is the state of a city that faces the foreclosure of its tallest towers? What is the state of a city that faces a humanitarian crisis that allows our most vulnerable to suffer and die on our streets? After much soul searching, I believe I have an answer for you. I'm here to say to you that the state of Portland is rising. And I'm here to tell you why. I always tell my team that hope is not a course of action. But hope combined with commitment, capability, and strategy is unstoppable. Together we can prove we can do hard things well. For a decade, the Portland Mercado served as a hub of Latino culture in Portland on Foster. On January 3rd, 2024, a fire tore through the building, causing extensive damage, closing the Mercado, and taking away a neighborhood jewel and jobs. Getting our Mercado back was a hard thing, but we had a responsibility to do it well. Hacienda CDC worked hard to raise the funds, including from Prosper Portland, to rebuild the Mercado, which is set to open next year. I'm not sure if Ernesto Fonseca is here. Thank you for your dedication to our community, for your focus on affordable housing and those communities that we need to lift up. And you've done an incredible job.
Right on.
I'm happy to say the food carts at the Mercado have already reopened. And construction on the building is scheduled to start soon. It will once again serve as a place to gather support for small businesses and enjoy wonderful food and drinks. And I promise, if you allow me to be the first one in line.
Thank you.
For the food.
And the drinks.
Then there's the new James Beard Public Market. This will be a game changer not only for downtown Portland, but for the region and the state. When the market opens, it will provide a home for almost 40 businesses showcasing the best of Oregon. Public markets are catalysts for economic development all over the world, and nobody has higher quality products to offer than Portland, Oregon. On my first day in office, I got a phone call from Dan Duran. He's the commissioner in Umatilla County in East Oregon. He said he's going to bring a truckload of the best watermelons in the world to Pioneer Square for a seed spitting contest. I want to lay down that challenge to our counselors, and so let's represent it, okay? And then we're going to go over and we're going to sell those watermelons in our new public market. And this is something we're going to offer to 36 counties throughout Oregon, because that's going to be our new living room. And we're going to invite the state to participate in Portland. And you may have heard, we're also positioning ourselves for Major League Baseball. Senate Bill 110 passed overwhelmingly last week and is now moving to the Oregon House with Governor Kotek's support. These recent wins are a powerful reminder of our ability to unlock and unleash the Portland Renaissance that we all want. After all, Portland's economy is shaped by many factors, but our engagement in the global trade sector is essential to our long-term success. To our international allies, in cities and countries around the world, let me be very clear, Portland values you. We welcome trade, collaboration, and partnership. This city is unwavering in its commitment to breaking down barriers, not building them. We support open, inclusive trade, cultural and educational exchanges, and the promotion of international tourism. Portland is not represented by those who would close our doors to the world.
Right on.
We stand for connection, cooperation, and shared prosperity. On Monday, I will release my first city budget, a budget that will impact you and your family. I'll release my budget during a challenging environment. As a city, we face unprecedented national uncertainty, expiring one-time funds, and slipping economic competitiveness. Despite these challenges, my budget is balanced, forward-looking, values-based, and designed to unlock our shared potential. Every dollar paid to a local government is a dollar that didn't go toward paying bills, a college fund, or retirement account. Every dollar we spend is a dollar that didn't go towards a credit card balance or a down payment on a starter home. Our tax proceeds aren't just dollar figures, they represent a profound responsibility and a call to action. Your government must prove we can demonstrate purpose and impact with every dollar. We face tough choices. Some are even agonizing. My team and I went line by line. I sought out areas where spending spiked or one-time dollars from the COVID pandemic were treated like ongoing funds. I want to thank my budget writing team. Mike Jordan is here, and Ruth Levine, and our CFO, Joseph Beery, and Sarah Morrissey, and so many of those who poured their time in my offices during the day, during the night, and on weekends. Thank you. We focused on our budget to start realizing efficiencies in our new form of government. To start, our city communications, information technology, and human resources personnel must be centralized and shared, not duplicated between bureaus. We're also going to raise and reinstate some fees. Impacted areas are Airbnb hosts, rideshare services, leaf cleanup, and golfers. It's time to get back to basics. There are no easy answers when dealing with the funding gap we're now facing. My budget prioritizes core services, community assets, public safety, and green leadership. We're also going to strengthen funding to clean our streets, fill our potholes, and remove graffiti. When I see trash on your sidewalk, I want it picked up. When I see a pothole on your street, I want it filled. And when I see cars and abandoned RVs on the side of the road, I want them gone. And I want to know this is not aspirational. This is what we must expect from our city. My budget also unlocks housing, it prioritizes economic opportunity, and reaffirms our commitment to end unsheltered homelessness. My budget stands behind youth programming in our community centers. Every cent I see Councilor Canal clapping the most, so I know I've got his support on this. Every cent that goes into youth programming and community spaces activates irreplaceable volunteers and changes young lives. And one of those young lives was me. I was an underprivileged kid growing up in North Portland. Our parks and programming kept me engaged throughout the year. I have a Portland wrestling certificate from 50 years ago. We participated in the listening sessions, and a lot of the individuals came and said they were from the Peninsula Community Center Wrestling Club. And that's where I wrestled 50 years ago. And at the end of the season, I won 3 and lost 2. I want this opportunity for every Portlander, regardless of income as well. It also frees up parents to provide for their families while knowing their children are safe. We have to make some tough decisions, but we can't do everything we'd like to do. But my budget makes sure every community center, every sun school, every swimming pool, and every park stays open. That includes citywide sports, and I'd like to highlight Allison Bourne and Jeff Baer, both dedicated Golden Ball youth basketball coaches. They might be familiar to you, especially our counselors. They came to our budget listening sessions with their teams and held signs. They wrote emails. In the case of Allison, she's my neighbor. We share a backyard. She lobbied on our porches, and I'm sure that's against state lobbying rules, Allison. Did you know our Golden Ball players say a pledge every game? They say that they'll work hard to be the best they can be. And they thank their families for giving them the opportunity to play. And that's why we look at these young people and see our future leaders. So thank you for what you're doing. And we have other future leaders in this room. I'm proud to welcome the Portland Public Schools District Student Council. Are there any in the room? Led by J.J. Kunsley, the DSC brings student input to PPS leadership and incorporates student leaderships into board meetings and policies. Today, their student council met with our city council in a sharing of ideas. I have a feeling that we'll be seeing more of these young leaders in the future. There are many different types of leadership. One of the most important is green leadership. Green leadership means restoring the original promise of the Portland Clean Energy Fund.
Yeah.
We voted for the Portland Clean Energy Fund to meet our climate goals, pure and simple. Keeping that promise means we must not tap into it for unrelated crisis. In the fall of 2023, our commissioners reviewed, debated, and approved Portland's climate investment plan. This came after years of research, deliberation, and public engagement. Our climate action is far-reaching, involves deep community partnership, and centers our most impacted residents. It is critical to our mission to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050. PSEF has substantially contributed to ongoing work of our city, the bureaus, to address climate change. Over $780 million in PSEF funds are committed to support city assets, programs, and services over this next 5 years. Our decisions on this fund will resonate far beyond Portland. Our peer cities may well follow in our environmental path or reject our green leadership based on what we do next. To keep that flame bright, we must keep our purpose focused, our actions disciplined, and our impact tangible. Speaking of green leadership, I'd like to welcome Rakesh Anuja from Daimler Trucks North America. Rakesh, are you here? Daimler Trucks was founded in Portland in 1942, 80 years strong in Portland. And today they are the largest truck manufacturer in North America. Now they are doubling down on Portland, thanks in part to Prosper Portland and Business Oregon. Daimler is investing $40 million in an advanced engineering facility with plans to invest an additional $3 million in zero-emission training center right here in Portland. This new Daimler Truck Engineering facility is intended to focus on clean transportation solutions, including emerging technologies such as battery electric vehicles. This new facility will be a key part of our economy's climate tech industry, which continues to create high-paying, future-ready jobs in the city. Rakesh and Daimler and Freightliner, I owe you a debt of gratitude for answering my call years ago and working with me to be the first carrier in Oregon with heavy-duty electric vehicles. It is a vision and a focus I have for the city of Portland, for us to be the leaders not only in our state, but in the world. And I know with your partnership we're going to achieve that. So thank you. These new green-collar workers will need housing, and so will so many others. The fastest method to build housing for every income level is to unleash the pent-up capability of the private sector. There are many market forces at work, and local government can't tackle them all. But, however, we have tools. We must use those tools as part of a comprehensive strategy. If we don't, pressure will continue to mount on our limited, affordable, and starter homes and put them out of reach of those who need them most. My budget clears the path for developers and builders to do what they do best and build. I've deployed new permitting and housing strike teams, and my budget will make sure they're empowered to succeed. I've also partnered with Governor Kotek to ask the City Council to waive system development charges for the next 3 years, or 5,000 housing permits, whichever comes first, for housing of every income level. SDCs are fees on new construction projects to cover sewer, local parks, roads, and water infrastructure. These fees can be tens of thousands of dollars and are often a difficult cost to bear early in a construction project. Let me be clear on what I want to accomplish in this next 36 months. I want to spark over $1 billion of new housing production in the city of Portland. It will add 5,000 new front doors across every income level and in all our neighborhoods, and supercharge economic activity with jobs pouring back into our city. Here's why we're taking such extraordinary steps. Seniors deserve to stay in a city that they helped build. And students, young people, and families deserve a chance to put down roots in the city they love. Waiving SDCs and kickstarting our housing supply is a long-term investment in our future. We must be bold. We can't let ourselves become paralyzed over the uncertainty coming out of DC or base our future on the rising cost of imported goods. We have better skilled labor, we have lumber, and we have land, and it's the best anywhere in our nation. We have everything we have everything we need here to care for Portlanders and drive our economy forward. We needed these homes and these jobs yesterday, so let's get building today. This is difficult to share, but the public safety reports I receive can be heartbreaking. Can you imagine the grief of a mother arriving on the scene of a shooting that involved her child lying on the ground? Or the despair of a small business owner who can't muster the funds or the faith to replace yet another broken window? In your time of greatest need, you deserve fast, capable response. My budget rebuilds our public safety infrastructure. None of our other initiatives will matter if people don't feel safe in their homes, businesses, on TriMet, or in their neighborhoods. We're turning the tide. We're turning the tide. We've interrupted the cycles of violence that have plagued our community. Homicides are half of what they were year over year. Chief, thank you for the dedication from your staff, your officers. I appreciate your dedication every day. Losing focus now is unacceptable, and should be unacceptable to everyone in this room. We're facing a law enforcement retirement cliff, rising costs, and greater needs for specialty missions and for investigative resources. Community trust in law enforcement first responders is an irreplaceable part of protecting our freedom to walk, to shop, and live safely in our city. My budget will protect and rebuild this trust. We'll add 1,014 new positions to expand the operating hours of Portland Street Response. We will support the Public Environment Management Office that deals with graffiti, illegal dumping, and abandoned cars. These will be ongoing dollars, not one-time funding. These are departments and programs we need year after year after year. We're increasing funding for the Portland Police Bureau to support rebuilding their staff, to fund missions, to stop human trafficking and other crimes. If we want response times that we once had, our budget must reflect that funding. We're also continuing to support the Office of Violence Prevention and Ceasefire, both of which have helped turn the tide of homicides in Portland. There are many ways to save lives. TriMet driver Joseph Wiggins would know. Joseph was on duty in the early hours of New Year's Eve when his last passenger clutched his chest and collapsed. Joseph called emergency service and realized that the fastest way to get his passenger to life-saving care was to take him in his TriMet bus. And that's exactly what he did. And he saved a life that day. When asked about it, Joe just said, "It's what we do. It's what we do." Is Joe here? On behalf of a grateful Portland, we owe you a debt of gratitude, but we owe a debt of gratitude to each and every one of your coworkers for the job they do for us every single day to make sure we get to our jobs and our families safe. So thank you. I'm friends with General Manager Sam Sue of TriMet, and I have to talk to him and say your next bus has to be outfitted with lights and sirens, so I'll get to work on that. I'm going to turn to another public safety issue, and it's the humanitarian crisis on our streets. Last month, Multnomah County released their by name homeless database. It confirms what we've seen on the streets. Our unsheltered homeless population now stands at nearly 7,000 today, far higher than it was just a few short years ago. Emergency shelters haven't kept pace, and the shelters we have are effectively full. Legally, logistically, morally, we are the responders. We are responsible for what happens on our streets. If we fail to act, my greatest fear is that we'll see yet another year of record-setting deaths on our streets. It was 456 lost souls in 2023. We're unsure of what the number is in 2024. And 2025 is yet unwritten. These are our neighbors. These are our classmates. And for so many of us, our loved ones. The trend of increasing deaths year over year is clear. If we do nothing, we will let these people suffer by the thousands. As your mayor, I cannot and I will not stand by and allow this crisis to continue on. We must We have a moral and political mandate, and we must act. We must expand the number of our emergency overnight shelter beds to help get those folks off the streets and ultimately into housing. Like all of you, I've followed the developments in the federal administration with deep concern. It is increasingly clear that if we fail to act, we risk mission takeover by an administration that does not share our values or compassion. Our shield against the federal overreach and cruelty is our ability to work together swiftly, effectively, and with shared purpose, and we can't waste time focusing inwards. President Trump has vowed to forcibly move those living unsheltered into government camps. Every one of my leadership meetings starts with a countdown to December 1st. That's the day we'll have a safe bed available for every Portlander every night. We will not leave our neighbors on the streets to suffer through another winter. There are 213 days remaining, and we must make every day matter. No single government body can solve this crisis alone, and that's why I'm calling on and I'm working with all our partners to join us. That includes state, metro, regional county governments, regional mayors, community leaders, businesses, and nonprofits. Since I took office, I have been working the phones, and there's not a day that I haven't gone by that I've asked for assistance in Portland, and our community members have answered the call. The first was Chair Megan Peterson, who partnered with me to open shelters. Yesterday, President Lynn Peterson and the Metro Council voted unanimously to make a first ever direct payments from supportive housing services to Portland. It's an extraordinary move to focus on caring for Portland and those that are suffering, and I'm deeply grateful. If President Peterson is here, I know Councilor Gonzalez is. Raise your hand. There you go. Councilor, thank you for your commitment to Portland and your leadership and your trailblazing activity. We have to lean in, and every dollar we spend on a shelter homelessness must restore the quality of life for all. One of our recent investments is the Salvation Army Moore Street Shelter, where I spent the night this past Monday. I arrived at 8:30 in the evening to find many had already fallen asleep. They were safe. At least for that night, they could rest. A musician played live music. Ben Nolte. Ben, can you raise your hand? Ben, thank you for your volunteer. Ben, as I see at shelters, he comes in, he plays music in the evening to provide dignity and decency to these souls that are just asking for help. And I appreciate what you do and you bring to this community. You won't find either, the relationship with the neighborhood hasn't been perfect. And we've committed to solving any problems that arise. I will say this, before the shelter opened, there were tents and trash on that section of Moore Street. You won't find either around the shelter now. We'll make sure that that same promise is for every neighborhood that hosts a shelter to provide life-saving care for our neighbors. I'm proud to announce we're working on opening 2 new shelters in the coming weeks, which are part of a proven strategy to end unsheltered homelessness. Altogether, we're adding 230 life-saving beds to the 250 we already have open. Our homeless Our homeless services funds must be spent with purpose, pragmatism, and compassion, and I'll be accountable for the results. The reason for my faith in our ability to achieve this monumental task is the people who do the on-the-ground work, people like Nate Takara of Portland Solutions. When someone is ready to be reunited with a loved one, Nate Takara is often the one who takes the call. From what I know of Nate, he's a quiet force of nature. Nate leads with compassion and brings his background as a firefighter to solve problems and help people. He gets them showers, he buys plane tickets, helps them travel even if they no longer have an ID, and makes sure there's someone to greet them when they arrive. He helped Giovanni, who many of you have heard about. Giovanni thought he couldn't go home because his mom was mad at him. Alone and struggling with a learning disability, Giovanni was stuck on the Portland streets for 3 years. Nate and so many others helped Giovanni clear court cases, get a ticket home, and make sure he arrived safely. Nate, can you please stand up? I'm sure that's killing Nate because he's such a quiet, unassuming person. And I thank you for letting me highlight these. The team at Portland Solutions, Nate's partners, have been amazing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in the months ahead. Supporting a mission like this requires a high-performing organization. This is why I'm reorganizing city bureaus into a system that shares resources, promotes growth, and better supports our workforce. There's no easy way to say this, but we're entering a period of layoffs. I hate layoffs, and I'm going to work like hell to keep as many people at Portland as I can. During the height of the Great Recession, my wife and I remortgaged our home to prevent as many layoffs from our trucking company as we could. I take those same values with me as we face a budgetary crisis that will force staff reductions. City staff are dedicated public workers, and I feel deeply for every painful staffing cut we now face. I'm grateful for all the insight and collaboration across the organization as we work to understand our options. I'm especially grateful for the advice from our unions, especially President Carrie Koch of the CPPW union for her advice and guidance at every step. Carrie's here, and I'm sure she's quite amazed that I'm saying that. I appreciate you. It's a partnership from all levels of government to run government well. And Carrie, you sent me an email on the first few days of January, and she said, "This is what I'm seeing, Mr. Mayor." And it was so well written and crafted, and I appreciate you and your team coming to the office and meeting with me regularly and providing advice, because that's how we turn our city around. We don't look to a person, we look to a group, and we do this together. So thank you. I wince when I hear the creepy metaphor that Portland's reformed city government is building the plane as we're flying it. Collectively, we were voted into office with shared purpose. We have a clear mandate on public safety, economic revitalization, and homelessness reform. We also have better representation of our constituents and a stronger relationship with the state and our county. To live up to that shared purpose, I have worked closely with my city council colleagues. The results of that collaboration are a values-driven, pragmatic, and balanced budget, which I urge my city council colleagues to pass. As I stepped into the role of mayor, I was deeply honored by the warm and open welcome from our state legislature. Our legislators have been generous in their time, engaging with me directly to understand my approach to addressing the crisis of suffering on our streets. They recognize that our economic engines are linked, and our success depends on one another. I haven't hesitated to take them up on their generosity. I've hosted shelter tours. We've met in living rooms. We've traveled to Salem or Testimony and sat down for one-on-one conversations. I especially appreciate their tireless advocacy on behalf of our city to secure funding for housing, for public safety, transportation, and critical city services, especially as many of those funds face growing uncertainty. I want to express my sincere appreciation to Governor Kotek. We meet regularly, and our collaboration has been invaluable. Her steadfast support, especially in our efforts to confront homelessness and revitalize our economy, has made a meaningful difference. I look forward to continuing this partnership in the service of all Portlanders. All of us, especially those in this room, have seen the best of Portland and the ways we have stumbled. Together, we represent the beacon of leadership, hope, compassion, and progress in a city that needs those values now more than ever. Looking around at all of you, I'm filled with optimism about Portland's future and our ability to solve the issues that we now face. I continue to believe the best days of our city are ahead of us, and that the Portland Renaissance that we all want is within our reach. Thank you.
you, sir. Check, check. Hello, can we give it up one more time for Mayor Keith Wilson? J.T. Flowers, I have the honor of serving as the Director of Government Affairs and Communications for the Albina Vision Trust, and I also have the honor of talking to this incredible public leader today. I have a ton of questions for you, but I want to, before we kick things off, give our youth the opportunity to set the tone for this conversation. We are in the presence of an incredible student leader here in our city, Mr. J.J. Kunsevi. He is the student representative on the Portland Public School Board.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Is it on?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Good afternoon, the city of Portland. I have the great privilege of honoring and representing the amazing 40,000 students of the city of Portland. And welcoming our mayor here. All right, and here's my question. With Portland Public Schools and many other Portland school districts having to cut millions of dollars and over 200 staff and teachers due to a lack of state funding, Mayor, how do you plan on collaborating with school districts to ensure the families of Portland, the students, and our broader community aren't affected?
I asked for a softball question to begin. That's a great question, JJ. So let's talk about Portland. And I said in my speech that we've stumbled. There are two key indicators that dictate the health of a city. It is population growth and it's job growth. And in both those key areas, we have population decline and we have the worst job creation in the nation. When you have population decline, you have families leaving and their school-age kids leaving as well. And each one of those kiddos that leaves takes $15,500 out of our public school system to fund the programs, the capital structures we have, and the programs that we need for you. So what we have to do, and why I've talked to Portland about the sense of urgency, we can't talk about 3-year plans or 5-year plans because we have an exodus today. And so we have to act like that with urgency and seriousness. We have to turn our city around, get jobs growing again, create a vibrant community, and start welcoming those welcoming those families and those kiddos back to our schools, and then we get that funding from the state to fund our schools. It's easy. If we restore public safety and livability, we're going to welcome an influx of those families, jobs, and investment. And that's why the sense of urgency is so palpable at City Hall right now.
One more time for JJ. So I have the not so pleasant task of trying to follow this brilliant young man, but Mayor, you just talked in your response about the importance of job growth to the health and vitality of a city. One of the things we know to be true on a national level is that what we've experienced over the course of the past 30, 40 years is job growth in some of the wrong places, right? Job growth in sectors and industries that offer working class folks very little upward mobility. I want to talk to you about industry, and I would love to hear your thoughts on what the workforce of Portland looks like 20, 30 years from now, and how we attract the right type of industries that give working class people something to strive for.
So workforce development is critical. So when you look at, and I mentioned it about Freightliner, they're based here. Those are green jobs. And so I keep saying we can't just focus on white-collar jobs or blue-collar jobs. It's green-collar jobs. The Portland Clean Energy Fund is that catalytic investment that we can invest in Portland. We, by all rights, should be the greenest city in the nation, and using those jobs as that catalyst to move us forward. And so we have everything we need right here. you're right. It can't be just distribution jobs, which are great. And it can't just be service level jobs. We need to make things. We need to teach things. We need to create those value-added jobs. I will tell you, JT, I really think that green leadership is the way we move our city forward. But we also stopped at the way we're doing it. You know, we are a car-centric focus. We have to focus on a multimodal transportation system. So we have... We need to unlock that potential. We need to focus on streetcars, which is that elemental approach to transportation-oriented villages, and then it has to be anchored with high-speed rail, and we have to change how we lead our society, leave the cars at home, take the income, and invest it in our communities for the health of our community. I know that was a roundabout question on your today.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. One of the things you've consistently said is that we have everything we need right here, and I largely agree with you. My question to you is, this budget cycle in and of itself can either serve as an indicator or a canary in a coal mine of some sorts. When we're running at a deficit, how do we strap together the limited resources we have to build the future that we say we're aspiring towards?
So it was manifested in this last 4 years, the last 4 months. So I entered City Hall on January 1st, and Mike Jordan, who is our city administrative officer, he and I sat down, and I was very impressed with this sort of relationship that we began. He started focusing on the technical the technical aspects of the deficit. We are tens of millions of dollars in the hole. So in the same regard, I started focusing on the revenue side of it. Because when you're in cut cycles, it can be this downward cycle, but you also have to then start focusing on the other side of the ledger, which is the revenue side. And he and I would meet, he would talk about the enterprise efficiencies, how he was going to phase in efficiencies and span of control and reorg the city. I was out there working with other communities on fundraising. What can we do to bring in? But the other side of that revenue side was really important when the governor and I announced yesterday, waiving the SDCs. When we start building those homes, far greater than the 500 or the 800 that we're going to build this year, when we should be building 5,000, you can see we're anemic. And if we're not building homes, if we're not creating good jobs, if we're not putting income into our economy, we're just cycling down. But with the restaurants, the hospitality, all of those other services that really depend on that revenue start cycling down. So we are going to create our own economic activity. And I said it in speech. We have the best skilled labor. We have lumber. We have land. We have everything we need right now to turn our city around and to supercharge our economy while the chaos outside of Portland is going on. But we need the revenue side, and that's what we're going to do. And I'm happy to say you're going to see successive announcements in the months ahead from Prosper Portland, from Donnie Oliveira at our Deputy City Administrator, at Community Economic Development. We have some really fantastic things to be talking, and we're going to build our city back better and add the revenue so we're not always talking about cut cycles, but it's that boom loop that we've been talking about.
That's absolutely right. And when you talk about a boom loop, there's no way to talk about it without discussing supply. Recently I read a book called Abundance by a dude named Ezra Klein. And if anybody has read that book, one of his central arguments is that government gets trapped in this cycle of subsidizing things that are unaffordable for people, right? And we just go deeper and deeper and deeper into the hole. One of the brilliant strokes of genius about this new plan that you've announced with the governor is it tries to hack away at some of the things that make development unaffordable. I'd love if you could speak a little bit more about the role of regulation and building out the Portland of our future in a way that feels real and tangible to people who might not be so familiar with the field.
Let me tell you some examples. So, working in our permitting department, which we've all heard about as a potential delay, one of the things that they're doing with this SDC reduction and other buildings that we want to convert from office to residential is we're going to let developers self-certify. So we're going to remove the bureaucracy away from the developers and say, if you're ready to invest in Portland, we're ready to help you, and we're not going to stand in your way. We'll set limits on time, and we will commit, and we will make and meet those times, but we're going to work as a partnership. I was talking to the managers of the U.S. Bank Tower, our iconic Big Pink. And 5 and 6 years ago, after 40 years of growth in Portland, we got really good at saying no. Because if you invested in Portland $1, you knew you were going to get $1.05 the next year. It's not the case now. And 5 years ago, they had said that they wanted to put a sky bridge across from Big Pink to their parking structure so people didn't get wet while they went to work. And Portland said no. And they asked me, what would I say? And I said, I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader, and I'm going to say yes, and I will carry your water. You want a day center? Which they said no. I said, we need to make businesses work and work for Portland because we need those jobs. So that's the new set of tone that we're setting in Portland is bring your ideas, talk to us what's magic, and we are here to help you succeed because you succeed, we succeed. We're going to raise up and we're going to start that next 40 years of the renaissance that we need in Portland.
It's beautifully said. One of the things you're emphasizing here is the importance of partnership, right? Given your long and storied career in the private sector prior to stepping into the role of mayor, I wonder what you think, from your perspective, everyday people most misunderstand about the way that government works and the way that government can work.
People always ask me, so what is it like to go from private to public? And it's been seamless. The company I built is systems improvement, really focused on continuous improvement, and it was a high-performing, high-standards organization. It's been moved over, so that's the one thing I've learned, that practicality and just understanding the linear approach to helping people, adding to the culture, focusing on mission and making sure you know where that purpose is, you adjust along the way. It's been really heartening, and I've got a great council I've been working with. We've been going back and forth. But I want to change that question for a second and talk about JT. So this young man is extraordinary, and if you heard his resume at the beginning, I thought, holy cow, I went to Portland Community College. He went to, was it Oxford?
Yeah, but I also did a 5th year in high school. Don't let this guy delude you.
I went to 5 years of college before they got me to too, so I have to arm wrestle for that one, right? But Albina Vision Trust, about government and partnerships, is what you had said. So this is an extraordinary organization, and JT is an extraordinary leader in it. They've raised $800 million to restoratively develop our community in that Albina region. Here's what I know about partnership. I have been following the Albina Vision Trust and went to Johannes and what you've done and Rakaya Adams for years. And the coolest thing about this job is my first call was to Winta. And JT and Winta came into my office, I think it was week 2. And I said, how do we partner? You see, I was born in Emmanuel. My mother went to Boise Elliott. We are Albina. And I sat down and said, how do we reconnect the river with the community? We have that grain storage facility, and it's been dilapidated, and it's been there for decades. It should be yours. What can I do to help? So that partnership isn't just me waiting. It has to be us going for those opportunities to build and reconnect the river. When you're successful, JP, Portland's successful because you own that riverfront. We must be the true river city. And I'm thrilled to partner with you and AD2 to make that happen.
It's a real honor, in the most genuine ways. And I can speak from the other side of this conversation as a community partner. The proactive approach you've taken to allowing community groups like ours to co-create an agenda has really been heartening to see. It's been a long time since we've had such a proactive and forward-facing champion in government, and we as a city desperately need it. So one more time for the mayor here. I don't think he gets enough credit for that, genuinely. in listening to you talk, you're talking about built infrastructure, right? We're talking about workforce. We're talking about human lives. But one thing we don't touch on enough is what it looks like for us to rebuild the infrastructure of community, right? One of the most cataclysmic things that's happened to our country over the course of the past 50, 60, 70 years is that these spaces that bound us together, the ties that wove us together as people, as neighborhoods, as communities, have been yanked at and pulled apart. Of course, the construction of our interstate highway system played a central role in that. But the way that we approach development in the present tense has also played a significant role in that. When we are in the midst of rebuilding our city, right, we have a series of major projects that are going to shape the next 50 years of life in Portland and in the city of Oregon underway right now. The Albina Vision Project area, I-5 Rose Quarter, the Highway Cover Project, the Interstate Bridge Replacement. We got the work going on at Cully, the work Ned is doing, the work the Latino Network is doing. We have the Broadway Corridor, the work Amzi's doing. How do we make sure that we're how do we make sure that we're tying the thread of community into the way that we connect all these projects to one another and make them material for everyday people?
Big question. Excuse me, that was a big question, but so two things. First of all, he just said that if I fumble this and screw it all up because there's so many great projects, I don't plan on fumbling. But what you just said was, where do we tie social capital into that?
That's right.
Because we often talk about capital as if it's money, and how do we develop, and how do we build, and how do we gentrify. And oftentimes we talk about displacement, but we forget about the social capital.
That's right.
So many of you were born and raised here, and you've moved here because you love the people, you love the geography, the streets. That's the social capital we bring, and we have to be very cautious how we do it. You know, we had the Portland Development Commission, which was often talked about gentrifying neighborhoods and building buildings well and fast, and a lot of economic prosperity was gained. And then we have Prosper, and there's people who say we've gone too far, where we're not building fast enough, we're not doing enough, but we're focused on the neighborhoods. I think we got to get to that centered part and make sure social capital is at the forefront of every decision, but we need to take that catalytic money that you talked about. The exciting part, though, is we have 3 TIF districts that finally we're going to invest $1.8 billion east of 82nd Avenue, where 40% of our youth lives.
That's incredible.
So the first thing about social capital is knowing it and knowing where you need to place it and being responsible when you do it. So just by knowing where our youth is and where we are underdeveloped, where I frankly think we can develop and make the gateway area kind of the technology center of our city or the services center of our city, we have to be intentional. When I see all that empty space on 102nd Avenue, at the end or near the Gateway Transit Center, I think what a lost opportunity. We have one of the central nodes of our city with MAX and bus and if we build that up, we're building that social capital back in a responsible way, making sure that the neighbors who are affected get to enjoy the wealth of that neighborhood. So I appreciate you saying that.
Oftentimes, as a kid who grew up here, like you did, I grew up thinking about the river as a dividing line that runs through the middle of the city. In my mind, as a kid growing up in Northeast Portland, everything west of the Willamette River was for upper middle class and wealthy white folks. Everything east was where the rest of us lived. I wonder how we think about, so much of our conversation about the rebranding of Portland centers around our central city, right? Downtown Portland. And of course, we're trying to push the boundaries of that conversation so that we start including things like Amzi, things like the Albina Vision Trust into the way that we frame our discussion of our central city. If you think of the river itself as a numbered street, it would be 0 Street, right? Our communities historically have lived anywhere between 7th and 62nd, 82nd. My grandmother, by the time she passed away, lived on 214th, right? How do we rebuild our city while also making sure that we're not just pushing people further and further and further out, but giving people a meaningful stake in what unfolds in our central city? What does the central city of 2030 look like in your mind?
Well, first of all, I will tell you right now, the counselors will not let me forget that there are four corners to the city, not just a central city. I'll tell you that right now. And that's so important because we have representative government now. Council President and I were talking about the Columbia Pool. I swam there 1,000 times, and she's a neighbor to it. East Portland, Councilor Avalos and Councilor Dunphy talk about the roads and the safety and the unhoused and what we're going to do, and they're empathizing with those individuals. We can't forget about the Four Corners, but here's an anecdote of what just happened a couple weeks ago. So the governor and I have really tried to work together. She has the bully pulpit and the funds and the faith of the state, and she wants to help. And she sees us as active participants in moving the state forward because it can't move forward if Portland's not moving forward. And we were talking about this SDC waiver, and she was like, Keith, let's just do 1,000. And I said, I don't know if that's good enough. I don't know if that's going to add enough. And then we were talking, let's just do downtown. And we thought, but it's so much bigger than just downtown. I started talking to the counselors, Councilor Zimmerman, saying, if we go small, all we're doing is playing small ball, and we got to get out of that. And so we started thinking big. Let's think 5,000. She started thinking, I don't know, Keith. But then we started doing the numbers, and we thought if we're going to really bring affordable housing and deeply affordable housing and housing of all income levels, we need to hit all four corners because those permits were locked in permitting, not being moved. And we thought if we give a little bit of extra push, some money, it's going to supercharge housing. So when you involve the whole city, you build the whole city and you activate the whole city. So you see, we got to stop being cloistered in their downtown core. I don't want to minimize the importance of a vibrant urban core, but if you help your most vulnerable, you help your most prosperous as well. So we have to be equitable in our approach.
I love it. I particularly love what you said. You know, when you involve the whole city, you build the whole city. I'd love to hear you reflect a little bit about the ways that Portland, in your eyes, can better serve the rest of the state of Oregon, right? We are, of course, the economic capital of the state, but in many ways, we have traditionally thought of ourselves in a very myopic way, right? The people within the boundaries of our city lines oftentimes don't venture into other parts of our state, don't have some of the conversations that you've probably been having in your tenure as mayor and also in your tenure as a business owner. I wonder, is there a larger role for Portland to play in the catalytic development and advancement of the rest of the state of Oregon?
Yeah, I think we have to own who we are and where we're at in Portland. Portland was the pride of the state. You know, my trucking company is all four corners of Oregon and Washington, and I would travel out a lot. And people say how they miss just coming to downtown Portland for a meal with their wife or their children, or the Rose Festival. You know, the Rose Festival is half of what it was just a decade ago. So there's your challenge. Let's double it in this next 10 years because people want to be a part of Portland. But that's why we're here. That's why I'm the mayor. That's why the councilors are in their spot, because we see the potential that Portland is. Now, you talked about the other community members outside of Portland. I was thrilled when Commissioner Doran called me up and he said, Keith, you're a friend. I'm going to help. And I thought to myself, there are 35 other counties. We need to showcase every county in Portland, and when we start doing that, their back home papers start saying, wow, look how beautiful it is. They're welcoming, it's safe, it's vibrant. So it's up to us, not them, to be the city we want to be. And I tell you, we have every resource we need. Nothing's gone away. We just need that teamwork to work together to really start helping our community, clean our streets, care for our citizens, and the rest will take care of itself.
Couldn't agree more. You know, a lot of these questions have been really oriented about your future vision for this city. So often in politics, we're mired down in the triage work of government, which is critical, right? We are at the front lines of so many critical programs that people rely upon every day to survive and think. You know, one thing I want to back up and do now is open up to some audience questions, some of which address different issues than the ones we discussed here. The first one concerns a bit of the chaos unfolding at the federal level right now, right? We have unprecedented attacks on all of our communities, but particularly our most vulnerable communities. You mentioned in your speech the importance of really maintaining Portland's status and bolstering Portland's status as a sanctuary city. The question from the audience was, how can we as a city keep our family members, neighbors, and friends safe from ICE sweeps, particularly but not limited to at schools?
I'm heartened to know that it's not just me. The governor and I talk, the counselors talk. We talked to Chief about what we would do for scenario planning. Attorney General Rayfield has been an incredible leader for our state. He has been pushing back. They've been getting injunctions. We've won almost every single court case. So we see the fumbling and the bumbling and the advancement and the retreat from our federal government. It creates chaos. It's economic chaos. We have to just stay the course. We know who we are. We know what our values are. There's a lot of fear, and I don't want to discount that. And I'm frankly just disheartened by that. But I want to talk about what you can do. Grace, who is our mayor's aide in the office, we were coming over here and she had said that she had just went to Cinco de Mayo on the waterfront. She said it was packed. I was surprised. And I'm so thankful to hear that, because Portlanders don't retrench, we advance. And so I would ask each and every one of you, look out, care for people. At the city, we set up hotlines. We're going to do what we can, but get out Cinco de Mayo. We can't let fear keep us from helping our communities and participating in the cultural events that we should participate in. So go show your support, and that would be a great way to just discount the fear in our community. But let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to follow up on that super briefly, and then I got a couple more questions before we wrap things up on this end. Oftentimes, over the course of the past 10 years since 2016, and it's 9 years technically, we have, as a people, been on defense, right? We're perpetually defending ourselves against this imminent and looming threat to so many of our core communities. Can you talk to us about not what a passive approach looks like, not what a defensive approach looks like, but what an offensive approach for the city of Portland looks like in 2025 and beyond?
That's a big question. So let's talk about what we're doing. Lakiana Drury is here. I don't know where he is. So Lakiana has a group called Word is Bond. And he's offensive. Do you know, we disbanded our gun violence reduction team in 2020. And we felt as if we wanted to, or it would impact communities of color. And it led to the highest gun fatality rate in the nation for our black young population. Well, Lakiana takes that and he empowers this young black leaders of the future, and we work with law enforcement and we combine a narrative to say we're going to break the narrative. We're going to bring the groups together. It's young leaders like Lakiana who don't subscribe to that old failed narrative that we can't all share the same table. And he puts his words to the road, and he puts so much time into that. It's those sort of partnerships that we have to stop thinking about the past and start building our future leaders for tomorrow. In fact, I'll take his young crew camping in July. It's about breaking down that stereotype, but just getting out. And I spent 72 hours with these young black future leaders, and we all walk in a little kind of uncertain at the end, and then we're all ready to cry 72 hours later because it was such a blast. So let's change the narrative for the story we want for the future and get away from the past, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, he's saying that offense is built through strategy. It looks like they're winding me down here. So let me just ask you one more question, and hopefully I don't get beat up when I walk off the stage. We talked a lot about this vision for what this city can look like. I want want you really briefly, to describe the Portland you see 20 years from now and talk about how you see yourself spending your next 4, if not 8 years as mayor building that future.
All right. So the future is just based on the past. So let me just tell you what I accomplished at my last job. We had the most diverse management team in trucking. 50% of my staff were BIPOC, people of color, LGBTQ. And we were the highest performing transportation company in the nation. If we just focus on hiring the best, that's what your organization will look like. That's what I'm going to bring to Portland City government, and that's what I'm going to deliver for Portlanders, is a city that looks like us, that is high-performing with high standards, that leaves nobody behind.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for coming out and attending this incredible event. We appreciate you.
Well, we'd love to hear more, but Franklin High School has another event beginning here at 7 o'clock and has asked us to leave in relatively short order. So, this concludes our program. Thanks to Mayor Keith Wilson and moderator J.T. Flowers for a dynamic discussion. Mayor Wilson, good luck with your budget Monday. I'm Ted Kay with City Club of Portland. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to our sponsors, AARP and Fight Against Sex Trafficking. Thank you all, and good evening.